Morning.
You're good.
Okay, let's call the UW Extension meeting to order on Wednesday, November 4th, 8:30. Uh, Everyone's here except Mr. Peisler. He said he was going to try to make it, but
What, did you ask him at all about if there's any other days?
he didn't really say. He just says sometimes he has a conflict with his work schedule, but he's had a conflict now for, maybe I'll have the chairman talk to him. Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
I'll make that motion.
Moved by Gary, second by Chuck to adopt the agenda as printed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, motion carried. I'd entertain a motion to review approve the minutes from our last meeting, October 7th, as published.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Chuck, second by Gary to approve the minutes as published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, hearing none, motion carried. Any public input? Seeing no one. Educator reports. Everyone should have reports from the educators here. Any questions or comments?
Just on the dog damage claim schedule, are we looking to look for some changes or?
We just update it every year in November.
Yeah, and so are you recommending some changes or?
Yes, the form, you should have received it in the
Mhm.
email. These are the updated changes, so we can talk about that later, but it's probably won't have any claims this year. It's just that it's good to have it updated.
Yeah.
How are things going, Erica, with all your extra duties with Manitowoc County now too?
Manitowoc County isn't a ton of work. I get emails and phone calls once in a while, but it's not too bad. It, I'm managing. We're all right for now.
Kind of drove around in the fairgrounds to look at the new auction building or whatever it's gonna be called. Really looked nice.
I did go past it also, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the majority of the credit for that is Randy Ebert and the Bardas. Certainly the Bardas first primarily, but then
Right.
Randy did a lot of the follow-up work, and there's still a little bit left to do, but that was their project, and it looks amazing, so.
Can't recall, did we have that extra canopy area next to the poultry shed? When was that done?
Oh, that's quite a while ago.
Yeah, 2020 has really screwed me up because
Maybe 5
I don't
years,
recall it,
maybe
I
more.
recall that they used to have like just a tent canopy.
And
up
yep, and the overhang, and then
turkeys out there, but then
the poultry and rabbit projects fundraised to put that up in accordance with Park and Rec. So, that, oh God, 5, 6
think probably
ish
good at
years
least
ago. It's
5,
been
yeah.
quite a few years ago, but they fundraised for quite a while because they had to have all the funds in place to start that, and because they had to do it in accordance with how you have to build things at the fairgrounds through, bids and etc. and whatever they need to do. So, yeah, that was an undertaking. Because, and then part of the reason they wanted to have that is because there's that overhang piece when they have to put the turkeys outside because of regulations, but then also that's where they're showing under.
So Erica, the ice skating, I'll call it the building, ice skating building, warm-up building is ready to go.
I was actually going to stop there today. Dave, I'm stopped there on Monday and Dave wanted to show me around, but I had to get going. But the rink itself is done. It's landscaped or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And Matt White is actually the one that did that. So
Okay.
it's professionally done. It looks nice. And the building, there's just a few things left. I don't think they have electricity in there yet, or maybe it was just hooked up recently. So once they got the electricity in there, that would allow them to finish. They painted in the dark, so there probably is some painting to touch up. Uh,
So they have running water in there basically, are they gonna heat it with electric heat or?
I don't know the type of heat that's in there, but yeah, it's going to be a heated building with running water.
Yeah, yeah.
Flushing
there's
toilets,
bathrooms
all of
in
it,
there,
yep.
Yeah,
Two
okay.
bathrooms.
That's what I was concerned, is how are you gonna heat it, or what was the game plan?
I
or-
think it's just a baseboard electric heater.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I have not gone past that, so I don't know what, I will, but I will.
Should be ready to roll once we have cold enough weather.
70s won't work.
But I prefer this, quite honestly. But
Renee, I have to ask, you've got these classes for divorcing parents and families in transition.
yes.
I mean, I've heard a lot of things about it. I think it's a great program and everything. How do you, how do you try to get people, I was talking to a person yesterday whose son and now ex-daughter-in-law, it's been a couple of years, they've been having a lot of issues with it. Recommended or told him, I think it's, there's a program, I said, with the county, and I think it would really be helpful for these types of situations. How do you, well, this guy, obviously, it's his son, so he's a little more biased, but he's something, uh, there's a lot of animosities, and I think we all understand that. I mean, hopefully none of us has to go through what people have. I mean, it's traumatic, I know, I've seen that. Parents are divorced, anyway. So how do we try to get more people to get involved with those things and see that they could probably really get some things fixed?
Yeah, well, there's a state statute, so that helps. There's a state statute. Wisconsin has a state statute for the last 20 years that the courts can enforce that statute at the time of divorce and require parents to attend the class. So most of the participants attending the class are coming because they're required by that state statute and the judge is enforcing that. But each judge in every county, all the different judges have the authority whether or not they will or won't enforce the class. There might be some situations where, parents say that they aren't able to attend and some get waived from taking the class. But there is a state statute here in Wisconsin and many states, and it's up to 4 hours of parent education. The other thing that happened here, particularly in Kewaunee County, is if for some reason maybe only one parent attended before the divorce, or and the other parent didn't, or for whatever reason they were granted their divorce, and then later on they have a disagreement about placement of the children. Before the court will open up that case again and hear that, they are asked to take the class first. So it kind of becomes a kind of like a stepping stone for them, that they need to complete that before the courts will go any further with their case. So that's been helpful to have that policy to support our programs. We have others that attend that are coming, because they see the need. And then, it is only a short course, so then we've been working on a lot of different programs to help extend the learning for parents and keep the messages fresh in their minds. We try to keep all of the focus on the children, and for the, that they communicate and work things out for the best of the children. And one of the things that we came up with a few years ago that I've shared in some of my previous reports is that we're sending text messages to them so that they get a fresh reminder on a weekly basis to keep the focus on the children. So we say, we understand it's hard, so the short text message they receive will say, we know a lot of parents are going through these challenges, and here's a helpful resource for you. And then they can, when they receive their text message, it comes with a quick link that if they have a smartphone, they can touch that link in their text message and it'll open up the web browser for them to read more about that particular topic. And then usually there's some kind of a technology tool that will help them as a parent to manage those challenges. But yeah, I mean, it's never easy. It's,
Yeah, it's a tough situation, of course. I mean, I'm sure we all know people that whatever they're involved in. Just wondering if they, I hate to force people to do anything. You lead a horse to water, you can't make them drink.
right.
Thank you. Sorry, I fell into it.
That's okay.
Anything else on educator reports? Do we want to take up the dog damage claim schedule, Erica?
Yeah, you should all have the dog damage claim schedule in front of you. This is just an update from what you receive every year, so I went through and just updated some of the prices. They were pretty similar to last year, so I didn't update a lot. The only real difference here is that the dairy beef cross calf is in there under beef. This is something that's a lot more common on dairy farms now. So I added that, and just asking you to approve this schedule. Next month will be, we will address any if there are any. I don't think we've had one for, gosh, 12, 13 years, probably, something like that. So it's not very common, but it's good to have it updated.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to approve the revised dog damage claim schedule as presented.
Are we going to go through this again next month?
No,
Are you saying?
this will be ready, so
Okay.
then for next month, or
Okay,
if there are
okay.
any claims,
I got
then
you.
you're good to go.
Yeah, I thought you said we were gonna look at it again next month. So. Okay, I'll make the motion that we would approve the dog damage claim schedule as presented.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded, moved by Gary, seconded by Chuck to approve the dog damage claim schedule as revised. All in favor? Aye.
All right,
Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carried. Thank you, Erica. Okay, department head, Judy.
So a couple things under extension updates and developments are strategies for COVID continue to remain the same. So groups less than 10, or you can do pods of 50 in separate spaces. So we've had conversations with Jill and I about using the exhibit building at the fairgrounds for a pod event. And so we're going to have to get approval for that. But it is a big space and we could easily utilize it for pods, but it doesn't have the walls between each of them, how they would divide it up. So
Actually, so I was on the phone with lots of people this week trying to get that because there's a group who wanted to do that next Monday. And it went all the way up to the dean and came all the way back down, went to the institute, went to my program manager. I was supposed to have an answer by yesterday morning, and I still have not heard back from them. So I'm following up with them this morning after this meeting. And I know that they said that they had something in the works, but with the rising numbers throughout the state, that they had postponed pushing that out. So I'm waiting to hear back from them, but I kind of went as high as I could go, and then I spent a lot of time in conversations trying to figure out how we could do this, because my thought process is that that's a 12,000 square foot facility. Even when you pod into multiple pods of 10 people, let's say, if you did one on each end and one in the middle, that's 30 people, and still spaced out, that's still more room than in a typical classroom. But I think that they need to look at a lot of variables, because this obviously sets precedent, or precedents for other things that are coming up. So whether that's another county using that same type of structure or what that means. So I think that they're probably trying to figure out if they can say yes to my request and what that's going to mean for others programming further out. So I'm waiting on an answer. It's the long and short, but Judy and I talked quite a bit. I worked with my APM as well, and it's gone up and down. And I'm waiting to see what the answer is. So
It's certainly an interest for some of the 4-H clubs to meet in a larger group than just 10 or less.
right,
So-
because in summertime or when it was nicer out, we could open up all of the doors, and that has enough airflow that it can become an open air facility like the barns or like any other pavilion. But now in winter, obviously, we're not going to heat the outdoors. So how do we do things in those larger potted groups? Well, we happen to have this large, nice facility like they do in Brown County. You guys have at your technology center, and I think Door County has a building at the fairgrounds. There's lots of different places, or maybe even a gymnasium like Holy Rosary right here, or not Holy Rosary. Emmanuel Lutheran has that gym that they would probably let you use. That's fairly large. Can we utilize those spaces if we're distanced out in that large space? So we're waiting to hear if they'll approve something of that nature that then we can meet, that we're not saying, okay, we have to have 10 people in this room spaced out 6 feet, and you could have 10 people in the next room spaced out 6 feet, and 10 people in the next room spaced out 6 feet. Thinking through how to make that happen in a different way. So working on it. Unfortunately, there's no easy answer solution at this point, but
And as soon as they leave the building, they're all together in.
we can't control what they do.
know,
We
I
can
know.
control
But, hey,
their
that's
leaving.
facts.
Yeah. We can control their leaving, so we can space them out and say, okay, we're going to release this group of 10 and then wait 5 minutes and then release the next group of 10. But that's about all you can do in that. But yeah, so thank you to Judy for helping me walk through that and thinking through, is there a way to make this happen? But I have not gotten a resolution on that yet. So
We're working on it, so
Yep.
hopefully we can start to bring larger groups of people together. Also too, because of budget cuts from the state, those 2 ag agent positions, you mentioned the Manitowoc County one already, as well as Door County, are both open, and thanks to Erica for doing triple duty with helping the 3 counties. So hopefully somebody's going to come up with a resolution to get some of these filled, which would be super helpful. So, and then under Door Kewaunee legislative days, the county administrator from Door County, the county administrator from Kewaunee County, and I are meeting the middle of November here, face to face, to figure out what we're going to do for legislative days. So we are going to do a survey. That will be the first step to find out what the major issues are now that we're through the elections, and we'll know who's now been elected, so we can figure out what the issues are, who we need to talk to in Madison, whether it's face-to-face or virtual. We have to figure that out. We also need to talk about that youth component piece, because that could look really different if you don't go to Madison. We still want to keep the youth engaged in this. So we will be meeting, like I said, I think it's the 19th of November, 16th or the 19th, to try to figure out what this is going to look like.
Have there been dates set already for that?
There haven't. We've been kind of on hold. We want to see what is going to happen with COVID.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Certainly, we're looking at probably April or May at this point, so I'm trying to take it out as far as we can.
Okay.
So that's kind of, if we could do it in person, it wouldn't be any before the 1st of April.
Okay.
My thought on the whole thing is, I guess it's really extremely difficult to do it unless you're in person. Do it online,
No.
right? Because it's such a large group that hits every legislative office. And so trying to set up an individual thing, I don't see, that might be futile.
And yeah, I agree with you. You're not going to get the same impact as being down in Madison, looking at them face to face, whether it's their staffer, or if it's an elected official, or something, or a representative from one of these state agencies. So yes, so we're going to have to figure it out. So maybe it's less people that participate this year. I don't know. I think everything's on the table right now. So I'll have more to report in December, because we'll, hopefully by then have a little bit of sense. But we have to figure out what we're going to do. And how do you get the most impact? I think that's, especially when you have issues, you want to make certain that they hear those issues instead of just saying, kind of shaking their head and then moving on to something else. So we're working on it, and I'll have more to report next month. But if any of you could get COVID under control, that would be helpful to all of us, and then we could
You wonder why COVID keeps spiking in Wisconsin. What is going on in Wisconsin that's so different than anywhere else? I said, it's just interesting that why Wisconsin is spiking so much in COVID now compared to other areas, and what, you know, what's causing it. I have no idea.
Well, we're social animals. We don't like socializing. If I gotta get gas in the truck, the wife is gonna go along because she's gotta get out of the house. That's ridiculous.
So we'll keep you posted on this but it may be somewhat of a modified, smaller group that goes, and, you know, we'll figure that out, but we'll let you know what we figure out in later this month. Also, too, the contracts for, the state contracts for extension for next year, I'll be sending those out later this week to get signed. So I got the letters printed, I just don't have the contracts in the envelopes yet, so we're getting there. But they've been reviewed by Madison and are similar to what you saw with the budget that you approved for extension, so that'll be the next step.
On those contracts in the past, didn't the committee approve them and then Scott ended up signing them? Is that how we did that, or?
Yes.
I think so.
Oh dear, so are we gonna do, because they have to be, well, it's still work. I have to have them in Madison by December 14th.
Oh.
Or they have to be approved by December 14th. So Madison back to here. So we could certainly do that for a December
Okay.
meeting. So I'll
I think it
put
was
that
just
on
a
the-
formality, but in the past, before
Okay.
Scott came, the committee used to approve it and then the committee chair signed them.
Okay, perfect.
Now, I guess Scott needs to sign them.
So, or you, I think there's room for both of you to sign.
Oh.
I do too.
So we can put that on as a December
Yep.
agenda item.
Yep.
Okay.
Early enough, December 2nd is like.
Yep. So, and I just got yours back a couple days ago, so, and we can certainly, I can walk it down to Scott as soon as the meeting's over, get him to sign it, and we can get it
Sure.
out to Madison,
Okay, that should work.
so, great, thank you for, every county does it differently, so.
Anything else, Judy?
I think that's it.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other issues they'd like to talk about? Okay, let's move on the agenda. I'm sure everyone wants to get home to check out the presidential race, so. Next meeting scheduled is December 2nd at 8:30.
Yep.
And then we look into January, would be the first Wednesday would be January 6th. If that's okay with everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
That is great.
Okay, if there's nothing else to come before the committee, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
I'll
Moved by
second.
Chuck, seconded by Gary to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none, we are adjourned at 9:54. I'm sorry, 8:54. Thank you, everyone.
Good day, good week, good month.
Yeah, it's supposed to be nice and
Oh, it's
warm all
November.
week.
Have a good